Good morning, everybody. It is day 10 of the suffering. We are down 10 days. We have 80 more days to go. This morning was pretty easy getting out of bed. I think I'm starting to get used to the schedule, which is great. So I'm gonna finish up this cardio. I'll see you guys in the kitchen. Okay, we are back in the kitchen again, and unfortunately, my little camera stand that I use for in the kitchen, it broke. So I have my phone on a jar of peanut butter, using that to hold it up. So I'm gonna have to order me a new little camera stand. So this morning, the cardio was really easy actually, and it felt really good. Waking up was easy. I've been getting up at 5:15 in the morning, and I gotta tell you, I'm starting to get used to it, which is a great thing because it sucks waking up early and being exhausted. I'm going to bed a little earlier, which I do go to bed a little bit earlier so than what I was, because normally I go to bed around 10, but now I'm going to bed around 9:30. So I'm waking up a little bit earlier, going to bed a little bit earlier. That way it levels out. Sleep is incredibly important. If your sleep isn't adequate, then your recovery is going to be garbage. So you have to make sure you're getting enough sleep, so that way your body can actually recover from your workouts and you're not so incredibly tired you can't function during the day. So I make sure I get enough sleep no matter what. Weight is fluctuating still. It's pinging up and down in the mornings between 123 and 125. So it still hasn't really moved down yet, but that's come to be expected once all the water weight went down and lost that. My left calf is tight today. It's not like hurting, like painful or anything, but it is a little stiff. So I don't know if that's because of lack of sodium. So I'm a little crampy. I don't know if it's muscle soreness. Well, I don't think it's muscle soreness. I think it's just muscle tightness because of all the cardio and then not getting any sodium. So there might be a little bit of dehydration going on there that's causing it to be a little tight. But now that I was on the Stairmaster, it loosened up some, so it feels a lot better. It feels significantly better, actually. And I think I figured out my problem with my rice cooker yesterday. So if you guys watched the video, you'll know that my rice cooker was acting a little wonky on me, and it didn't cook my rice all the way. So I wasn't sure if this mattered or not, if you could like put your rice in your water and then plug in your rice cooker, then turn it on and hit, or if you had to pull that little basket out, turn it on, and then we'll plug it in, then turn it on, and then set it in there, and then close the lid, and then hit cook. I guess there's a scale in there because there's a little spring pressure in there to let you know something's like in there, but I didn't know if there was like an actual scale in there, and then it's calculated depending on what program you hit for how much time, for how much weight is in there. So it's like if you take a regular scale and if you push down on it, then you press power, it's going to be zeroed out with even the weight from your hand on there. So if you take your hand off, it's going to go negative, and then you have to zero it out. And if you put your hand on there, then it'll show you the actual weight of your hand out as a negative. So I'm assuming the rice cooker is that way, because yesterday I cooked my rice again, and the same thing happened to it that happened yesterday. It didn't really cook, and it swelled up dramatically, and it was terrible. So I said, nope, not doing that again. So I poured that rice out, and then what I did was I turned the unit on, plugged it in, turned the power on, and then I put everything in that little bowl, and then I put it into the rice cooker, then I closed it, and then hit the power button, and it cooked correctly. So I feel a little stupid about that, because I didn't read the manual, but I didn't think that would affect it, but it did. I thought it was just a straight time system, but I guess it makes more sense, because it's like, how does it know if you have 2 cups of rice in there or 12 cups of rice in there? It's the weight. The amount of water inside the dill has, I guess, a scale, so that way it can weigh the amount of water, because like obviously, like, you know, a cup or 2 cups of water is going to take a lot less cook time and a lot less water than 8, 10, 12 cups of water. And it's like, well, how does it know to adjust the time? Well, That's probably because there's an internal scale. Now, this is just me assuming off of what happened to me these last 2 days. But I normally cook on the stove, so using that, at least that kind, is fairly new to me. I used to use an old school rice cooker that just basically had a timer system on it. If it didn't cook long enough, you just had to hit start again. But learning, right? Learn something new every day. But the rice came out good, so I'm excited about that. I'm not going to have that nasty rice because, man, it was a little tough getting it down yesterday. That's for sure. It wasn't bad the first meal, but after that. Also, I'm kind of hungry right now, so that's something that is new. I'm actually getting hunger in the mornings. I'm actually experiencing hunger in the mornings, which is new to me because I never, ever, ever have hunger in the mornings. So I actually welcome it because it makes my food taste better whenever I'm on a bland diet like this. But hopefully it's not like yesterday where I actually have an appetite, but then after my first chicken and rice meal of the day, my appetite disappears as quickly as it came because I want to be able to be hungry enough to be able to eat all my meals and enjoy my meals without being like, oh, this is absolutely disgusting and I don't want to eat this. Because yesterday my appetite was gone after that first meal, but also it was a lot more volume and the rice was just terrible. So eating extremely bland, awful food when you're not really hungry is twice as hard. Okay, so I'm gonna eat and I'll see you guys at 9 o'clock. Chicken and rice on the menu today, and I'm happy because my rice was cooked correctly. And I got that whole conundrum figured out. And I am doing really good on my diet. I know my weight is pinging a little bit from 223 to 225, but that's okay. It's expected. You're going to fluctuate in water and stuff like that. You're going to fluctuate up and down depending on how much you're eating and your bowel movements and everything else. So I'm not really stressing that at all whatsoever. I know the weight is still coming down. I know my body's still doing what it needs to do, and I know that my body's going to kind of like snap out of it and start progressing forward really aggressively again. Well, not as aggressively, but I mean like 2 to 3 pounds a week is what I'm after. Well, 1 to 3 pounds. I want to lose 1 to 3 pounds a week because if I can lose at least 2 pounds a week for the next 10 weeks, that's 20 pounds, and let's just say I'm 224. So that put me down to 204 pounds. By the end of this, that's light. Now, the goal isn't a certain body weight. I'm not like I have to be this body weight. If not, I'm not successful. The goal is to get my six-pack, and in order to get my six-pack, I have to lose the body fat. So the body fat is just a measurement of results. Like the body weight, taking my weight is just a measurement of if I'm moving forward and if I'm progressing like I want to. That's all that is. So it's not like I have to be this weight or I need to be this weight, or if I'm not this weight, I'm a failure. No. It's the scale is just a tool of measurement to see if I'm making progress or not. Ultimately, the measurement of success is going to be the mirror. And when I look down, if I go look down and see all 6 abs, if I go look in the mirror and see all 6 abs, whether it's morning, night, noon, whether I'm in daylight, I'm in artificial light, or it's nighttime, and now you can see my abs, then that's success. That this will be a successful 3 months, and that's the goal. Man, when the rice is cooked right, it makes the meal so much better. It was so good. Oh my God, that meal was so good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually looking forward to my next one. I wish there was more of it so I could have kept eating it. I'm really starting to grow to enjoy it. Okay, so I got a comment that said, why, like, losing weight is hard enough already as it is on its own. Why would you do this? Like bland and chicken and all that other stuff. Well, I guess maybe there's just something wrong with me. No, I don't mind the suffering, right? I mean, sometimes it sucks, but for the most part, like, I don't mind eating like this. It's really actually more enjoyable to me to not season my food and to not salt my food and to not actually have a whole lot of different like spices and herbs. Because when you taste the green bean as the green bean, you taste rice as rice, and you taste chicken as chicken, you start to appreciate the flavors that they actually are, and not the flavors that you put on your food. Because when you're seasoning your food, you're changing the flavor of the food itself. You're not enhancing the flavor of the chicken. You're covering the flavor of the chicken, right? If you put mesquite on there, or if you put garlic on there, you're not tasting the chicken. You're tasting the garlic or the onion or the mesquite or the barbecue sauce or whatever it is you put on it, the paprika or the cayenne pepper. Like you have now added a flavor in there that covers the flavor of the rice or the chicken or the green beans or whatever. So when you actually enjoy the flavors of the food you're actually eating, it makes it easier. Now, I don't like the texture of the chicken when it's dry. I like the flavor of chicken. It's the texture and the dryness of the chicken that makes it terrible to me, right? I like the way the breast tastes. I just don't like the dryness of it. I like the flavor of brown rice. I just don't like the chalkiness of it if it's not cooked right. So I add the olive oil in there because it moistens it up and it makes it a little bit more tender and more enjoyable to eat. Plus, I like the way olive oil tastes. So the reason why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it without seasonings is because, one, my blood pressure was elevated, and reducing my sodium has brought my blood pressure back to normal, which is fantastic. Two, I enjoy the flavors of the foods that I'm actually eating, and I like the way they taste without having to cover them up with other seasonings. It's like cooking steak and putting ketchup on it, right? It's like, oh, I love steak covered in ketchup. Like, if you put ketchup on your steak, you're not enjoying the flavor of the steak. You're enjoying the flavor of the ketchup with a hint of steak, because the ketchup is going to overpower the flavor of steak, because ketchup was actually designed because they had a bunch of spoiled food and not enough rations. So they designed ketchup to be able to cover up the foul taste of spoiled food when there wasn't enough to go around. So that way they didn't have to discard food. So it was actually designed to be used to cover the flavor of spoiled food. So when you put condiments on your food, you're actually masking the flavor of the food. So it's the same basic principle. So that's why I'm able to do this so easily. And the flavors aren't the problem during the weekend for me. It's just the fact of being hungry during the weekend and having access to food, being able to go get something to eat or walk into my pantry and grab something out of my pantry and eat it because of all my kids' foods and snacks and all their delicious little things that they have. So having access to is what makes it difficult, not that like that food is really any better than what I'm already actually eating. So that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Plus, maybe I'm just built different, and maybe my taste buds are just conformed a little bit different than other people's. I don't mean I'm built different, like I'm better than you. No, it's just some people's sense of taste and sense of smell are different than others, and maybe that's why I've always more preferred the flavor of food without seasoning and salt. Like for many years when I ate white rice, I wouldn't add salt to it. I'd eat it plain, and I loved the way it tasted. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I started actually adding salt to my rice. And then now I'm not doing it no more. Not only did I not add salt to my rice till I was in my 30s, but I used to cook noodles and eat noodles plain with no salt. I'd boil them, strain them, and just eat plain noodles with nothing on them. No sauce, no nothing. I enjoyed the way just pasta noodles tasted. Same thing for ramen noodles, rice, chicken, red meat, pork, eggs, you name it. Like I used to enjoy, not used to, but I even enjoy oatmeal plain. Like the brown maple sugar cinnamon and like the apple cinnamon, all that kind of flavored oatmeal, I don't like those. I've never liked those. I never enjoyed them. I never really liked those. I like plain oatmeal just as oatmeal, just plain old normal ordinary oatmeal and water. I really like that. Same thing for my grits. I love grits, just plain old grits. I don't know why I'm like that, but I am. I like the flavor of the foods for what they are without having to add anything to them. Does adding stuff to them make them better? No, it makes them different to me. And sometimes variety is nice to have a change of pace or have something different. Just like when you order pizza, sometimes you want pepperoni, sometimes you want onions and mushrooms and peppers on there. Sometimes you just want cheese. It adds to it. It doesn't make it better, it just makes it different. But for me, it's easy for me not to season my food and eat it plain like that, because it's something I've always done my whole life. And it's something I don't really have to honestly think about. And simplicity is key. The simpler you can make something and the easier you can execute it, the more likely your success is going to be on it. So that's why I'm able to do that. It's not like, this is something that is completely foreign to me. It's something that I used to do in my 20s, and I was able to stick to it a lot better versus whenever I started adding all this other stuff to my seasonings and diets and everything else. So a lot of that stuff I call gimmicky and fad. Like, oh, it's a fad or it's a gimmick, it's a gimmick, it's a gimmick. Stick to the tried and true basics and you'll be more successful, because the simpler it is, the easier it is to execute, the higher your chances of success will be. Not for everybody. Again, speaking for myself. It's lunchtime and I am happy because I am hungry. I am so looking forward to this meal because I've been hungry since about probably 10 o'clock. So about maybe an hour after I ate. So that is really good. That I was hungry this morning, then I ate, and then I was still hungry almost immediately afterwards. And then I ate at 9. My hunger held off to about 10, and then I got hungry around 10, which has been, yeah, 10 o'clock. So I lost my train of thought there. But anyways, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. I'm happy that I'm hungry and it's lunchtime, especially because my rice is cooked correctly. So I'm really looking forward to it. I do enjoy vegetables. If I was to add anything to any of my meals, it would be vegetables. It wouldn't be seasonings and salts. It would be like red bell peppers, green bell peppers, onions, tomatoes, zucchini, squash, stuff like that. Because that's not adding seasoning over the flavor of like the rice or the chicken or anything else. It's just adding something else in that has more nutrients in it, that has another flavor to pair with the other flavors. So I'm not trying to get all like sound like some moral high standard ground of like, oh, seasonings mean this or that. No, it's not that, because I love seasonings too, and I love herbs and spices. But for this diet right here, like I've said many times before, I think the more bland you make it, the simpler it is, and the easier on your palate, and the less complicated it is, the further you're going to go, the better you're going to be at it, and the better you'll do at it. Again, generalizing for myself, not for others. I don't expect everyone else to be able to do this. I don't expect everyone else to understand it or to even be like, yeah, that's a great idea. But I tell you what, losing weight as fast as I'm losing it and then doing as good as I'm doing with my blood pressure, the results speak for themselves. And I know my weight's kind of stalled out a little bit, but it's been bouncing around between 123 and 125. It's kind of bounced around. So, well, anyways, completely lost my train of thought where I was going with any of that because I got a phone call. So I'm going to go ahead and eat this meal, and then I'll see you guys in the gym at 4 o'clock. So we split our legs up into 2 separate nights. On Wednesday night, we train our quads. Saturday night, we train our hamstrings. We split those up. We only train the quads once a week and the hamstrings once a week. We don't do doubles on this. We do doubles on everything else, at least on this program, starting off early in this program. So, but anyway, so we're doing 4 sets of squats, and then we're going to do 4 sets of belt squat, and then 4 sets of hack squat, and then from there we'll do some hip abductions, and then calves. Now my calves are pretty tight from doing the Stairmaster, so I'm only going to probably do 5 sets of calf raises on the seated calf raise because I get a lot of volume from doing the Stairmaster, so I don't need a whole lot of reps on my calves. I just need to get some load on them from the seated calf raise machine. So this is my top set. It's only 185 on the safety squat bar. It's not a lot of weight by no means. No stretch of the imagination. It's really light in comparison to what I used to do whenever I was a powerlifter. Like, you know, thinking like I used to do reps in the high 300s, you know, like I used to be able to rep out 365, 385, 405. And now I can barely do this. I'll be lucky if I get 8 with this weight, to be completely honest with you. Also, my knee's really been bugging me today. I got a lot of like pressure in it. So I don't know if I have arthritis in my knee and it's flaring up or whatever, but it's funny because I was just saying how great my joints feel for the day, and now all of a sudden my knee's just like, no sir. But okay, let me see if I can get 8. The goal is 8 to 12, nice and controlled, but I have a little bit of self-doubt right now that I'm going to get 8. because my lower back and my abs are screaming at me. My lower back and my abs are super fatigued. My legs are strong enough for this. It's just whenever I was powerlifting, I had that big belly all the way around me and it supported my torso. So like there wasn't really a lot of like stability issues. And now that I'm a lot smaller, I don't have that same thick midsection that kept me like strong in the bottom of the movement. Now I'm having to use a lot of abs and lower back. And don't get me wrong, I used abs and lower back too back then, but it's a different feel whenever you have a gut and you weigh 270, 290 pounds versus weighing 224, 225 pounds. I'm talking about 50 to 80 pound difference. That's a huge difference on the structure and the frame. Their leverages change. I just hope my knee doesn't give out on me. That's what's in the back of my mind right now is my knee. With all the pressure in it. Just keep imagining it. I'm going down and it just blows apart and snaps and I crumble to the ground. Whew. Terrible thought. Yep. 6. Ooh, my abs. That's all I can take. My abs and my lower back. That's all I can take right now. That's definitely a weak area for me. Plus, it's been a really long time since I've done squats, actual squats like this. For the better part of 7, 8 months, I've been doing leg extensions, hack squats, belt squats, no deadlifts, no Romanian deadlifts, no squats, nothing. So that strength in the midsection is just not there like it used to be. So it's something I'm definitely going to have to build back into. And it's not discouraging. It's just part of lifting. You know, if you neglect something for so long, you lose it. You lose all that strength in there, and you just have to build it back up. But it'll come back. Plus, honestly, I'm not really worried about strength. I'll be completely frank. Like, do I want to be stronger? Yeah. Do I want to build a squat in the 300s again for reps? Yeah, absolutely I do. But is it crucial? No. I don't think that's going to be the difference of having big, thick, muscular legs or not. I think you could build up big, thick, muscular legs at 225 pounds as good as you could with 400 pounds. It's just a matter of going slow, pausing, and then exploding out the hole. Time under tension and load is what causes growth. So there's 100 different ways to go about doing it. And plus, I don't even feel this, honestly, to be completely honest, I don't even feel this in my quads. I feel this in my abs and I feel it in my lower back. That's where I feel it. I feel it all in my abs and my lower back. Now, when we move to belt squats and hack squats, that's going to be all thigh, 100% thigh. But this strengthens up the lower back and the abs, and I feel like the best ab workout you could possibly do is squats and deadlifts. Better than any crunch or reverse crunch you'd ever do. Doing these, you have to hold everything tight and rigid, which really works the midsection. Don't get me wrong, weight is important. Like, you're not going to build quads with 5 pounds in the leg extensions or 10 or 20 pounds in the leg extensions. You have to have load on the quad in order to build it. But again, it has to be something that your body can recover and repair and grow from. If you're doing too much, you're going to annihilate it. And then the risk to reward goes way up for injury. So those days of being focused on strength and being strong and trying to lift the absolute most amount of weight that I could possibly lift, those days are long behind me. Like, I don't care about that no more. Like when I start doing powerlifting routines, I do care about it, and I do want to get strong, and I do want to lift heavy again. Like I said, I love to squat in the 300s again for reps. I love to deadlift in the 400s for reps and bench in the 300s for reps. I would love to be able to do that again, but is the risk to reward worth it? 37? Nah. I think right now the best thing for me at my age is just to focus on longevity, avoiding injury, and getting in my own head about wanting to be that guy again, about being the strongest in the room, when no one really honestly cares about how strong you are. I mean, no one really honestly cares how big your arms are, or how big your legs are, or how flat your stomach is, or how thick your abs are. No one really cares about that either, except for other guys that lift and work out. The only guys who care about, the only people that care about how strong you are other guys who power lift and lift for strength. So to be honest, like it should honestly be something that you're doing for you. It should honestly be something you're doing for you and no one else, but doing it to show off at the river or the beach or the lake or to impress your wife or your girl or your friends, that's fun too. But with powerlifting, I always compared myself to other powerlifters, and I was always focused on my next competition, my next meet. It wasn't about being going to a restaurant and then finding any excuse to bring up how I'm a powerlifter to the waiter, or going out to a barbecue or to a family outing or something and then finding an excuse to bring up to the people around me how I'm competing or powerlifting. Like that was never a thing. People would come up and ask me, "Hey man, how much do you lift or how much do you squat? Man, dude, you're pretty big. Like what do you do for your workouts?" And then I would engage them and I would entertain them and talk back to them, but I wasn't the one going around trying to do that. So it's just one of those things that like I just got to stay out of my own head about being fixated on strength and focus on technique, slow, controlled reps, hard squeezing, good stretching, deep movements that allows me to overload the muscle in a safe way that's not going to tear my joints up and get me hurt. The strength is still always there. It's always on the back burner wanting to be stronger. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be stronger. You can always be stronger. And I know it's, oh, well, you're only 37. There's guys in their 50s and 60s and 70s that still powerlift and are incredibly strong. Well, yeah, and I'm trying to be that guy, right? I'm going to slowly build my way back up to heavier numbers where it's not feeling like 1,000 pounds on my back. Like if I can get to where I'm squatting 315 for sets of 10 to 12, I'm never going to really be able to bench press again. But if I could get back to the 100-pound dumbbells and I can do those for sets of 20, and I can like deadlift a Romanian deadlift 365 for sets of 10 to 15. Yeah, I consider that a huge one, especially going into my 40s. I just barely turned 37, but still, you get what I'm saying. On leg night, I also like to rest anything between 2 to 3 minutes between sets. Normally, it's around 1 minute, but with leg night, hamstrings are back. I'll go about 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes I'll even go as long as 4 minutes if need be because I'm not in a rush to hurry up and get back under the barbell. I want my body to be recovered and ready so I can get the most out of my set, regardless of the weight. This is my second set right here of the night for these, and I'm going up to 4. But the technique from the first set to the last set is identical. If you would have asked a younger me, do you have to go heavy to get big? I'd say, yep, go heavy or go home. If you want to get big, you have to go big. But now that I'm older, I know that's not necessarily true. There's a point where you have to overload the muscle and you have to use bigger weights and heavier weights, but that doesn't mean you have to be using like world record powerlifting numbers. You just have to use a weight heavy enough that challenges your muscle to cause it to respond, to grow, to get bigger. It doesn't have to be like some crazy amount of weight that's just insanely like ridiculous. When I was younger, I thought that was the ticket, but as I got older, I realized that's not necessary. Because, like I said, at this point in time, I want to stay injury free for as long as I can and preserve as much muscle as I can while leaning out and getting as lean as I can. And this way, whenever I hit my goal and I do decide to start trying to put on more muscle mass, I can put on quality muscle without all the fat. So that way, I could put on strength and size without all the fat and the high blood pressure. Because at this point, I just don't want to be fat and I don't want high blood pressure no more. I want to feel good and I want to look how I feel. I want to feel good. I want to look good.
So that's it for the quads. We're moving on to calves now. I'm going to do 5 sets of this, pyramiding up. I'm going to be doing anything between 8 to 20 reps, depending on the load and how the calf feels. This right here, I'm not going to do a whole lot of volume on it. I'm just going to try to get a lot of weight. I'm going to jump probably 50 pounds a set, starting off with 50 pounds, then 100 pounds, 150, and so on for 5 reps. Then I'm going to do some hip abductions. So that way I can work out the hip flexors and all that stuff. And then from there, I got 20 minutes of cardio. Then I have to go inside and take my protein shake and cook my food and get that ready for the next day. Well, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Pretty simple training program. Appreciate each and every one of you watching. And I'm going to continue to finish this workout. You guys have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.